Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Brian Niznansky, and yeah, we're in for an interesting night tonight. If you are just joining right now, well, you probably are. We just started. We are in for a surge of warm air, and eventually that warm air will be leading to the risk for more thunderstorms. In fact, I can already tell by looking at the radar, which I'm going to show you in a second, we're starting to see the effects of tapping into that warmth. The storms that are firing up to the southwest of us, bubbling up quicker, a little bit more shape to them than what we had earlier today. So the threat is real for tonight. Do I think we're in for a massive tornado outbreak? No. But I do think we have enough of a risk that we need to be on our toes here late tonight. What's super important before we get to the radar, and I'll show you this more and more later on too, this is our first kind of go at severe weather. So with that in mind, make sure that you're always... If you always know how you're going to get your warnings. How do you plan on getting your severe warnings or tornado warnings? Do you rely on a NOAA weather radio when you go to bed? Emergency alerts on your mobile device. Obviously, TMJ4 will be cutting in for any severe warnings. And then also, the TMJ4 app. You can get alerts that way as well, or just heading to tmj4.com as well. So, yeah, we're... not saying it's a slam dunk tonight, but there's some things that we're going to get into as to why I do think we will have some severe weather here in southeastern Wisconsin. So I appreciate everybody who's joining this afternoon. Very soon we're going to take a deep dive into what currently is happening. We'll look into the computer models of timing out what could be our main event later on tonight. If you happen to have a question, a comment, please fire away. We will be getting to timing and the effects for all communities. So I know a lot of the questions, comments coming in. What about Waukesha? What about Oostburg? What about Racine? Try to be as specific as you can. Like what about? Specific timing, specific amounts, specific threats. And we'll try to address all those. But in general, we should be able to knock out all of that as well. So let's get right to it. Again, interesting scenario setting up. Let's go. First, I want to show you guys the temperatures because this will be the biggest factor here as the evening goes on. Notice that warmth is starting to move in. We've made it up to 58 now in Milwaukee. We're now at 61 in Burlington. I called for this. Well, I didn't call for it. I mentioned the potential for it. Earlier this week, I mentioned the chance of, some of us in southern Wisconsin hitting 70 degrees today and tomorrow. It's going to be tough to do in Milwaukee with the effects of the lake. However, I could see, your Janesville, your Lake Geneva popping off with that this evening if things line up. So temperatures, big role. We got that surge of warm air really starting to push in here. The table is getting set now for, severe weather. You don't need, like in summertime, when we're talking about building up hours and hours of instability, when you have as dynamic of a system as we have, you really do not need, dew points of 70 and quadruple digit CAPE instability levels. We don't need that. Dew points right now, middle and upper 50s, given the dynamics that will be in play, the jet energy above, that's a huge issue. The ingredients are there, guys, for this. So let's get to really what we're here for, right? Thunderstorm potential. As we look at the radar, the stuff that's Madison and Northeast struggling to develop into anything noteworthy. But notice those little poppers over to the west of Janesville. Not only notice how more they're bubbling up, but, little shape to them too. Like there's a sheared environment. I'm not saying this is a supercell quite yet, but you see how they're starting to get little shapes that I don't like to see. in a highly sheared environment. Not saying that these are going to eventually amount to anything, but they could. I mean, they could take off here. They're now in that air mass that's 60 degrees. So really not even any lightning to these yet. Let me make sure I have it turned on before I say that. Yeah, lightning layers on. So no lightning to those. We'll keep an eye on those, especially that one down towards Rockford. That probably has some hail to it. Let's switch over to our vertically integrated liquid. And as of right now, nothing's showing up there on the vertically integrated liquid. In fact, I'm gonna change over our look of that. I don't want it as coarse. There, that's better. Let me switch that out. Boom. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's just a little bit behind the vertically integrated liquid. I guarantee you, let's check back here in a little bit. I bet you this right here to the west of Rockford, I bet you that takes off with some at least some small hail potential to it. Let's look big picture, bigger picture here. That will give us kind of an outline of what's going on. So going to have to watch those two that are way south of us. That could clip Kenosha. Still going to see what happens over here towards Monroe and to the west of Janesville. Going to have to watch out for those. But anything this afternoon should be scattered and still low-end severe threat for us here in southeastern Wisconsin. What eventually could fire up and is likely to fire up is a bigger line of storms that fires up across Iowa and Minnesota that moves in later tonight. So let's time that out. And that, again, this is shaping up to be like a midnight thing tonight. So here's the HRRR, which is initializing okay. You know, when things are so convective, it's not perfect when you're dealing with storms, but it does a decent job. Notice the lull through the evening. Like if you have evening plans, we're looking mainly dry. Notice the wind southwest too. It's going to be dry and it's going to be mild, like 60s this evening. I think we're dry through 10 o'clock. I mean, here comes what could be the main event. Midnight, 1 a.m. into 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Some severe potential to this. I think we're sheared enough that, yes, even tornadoes are possible. Am I saying for sure? No. But I'm just saying that these spring storms, I mean, go down the list, right? Early spring storms or even late winter storms, technically. Tornado south side of Milwaukee, what was that, 2000? St. Francis, Cudahy area by the airport. Wheatland tornado. These really dynamic, powerful low-pressure centers where we find ourselves right in that warm sector. It happens. So we'll just have to be on our toes with it. So that's the HRRR. Stray shower early tomorrow morning around 7, 8, 9, then we're done. See what the graph does. And again, look at the map, look at your town. You'll be able to figure out where things are lining up. Let me switch over. I didn't like that graph view. There we go. All right, so again, graph initializing decent. The lull, except for maybe a stray little shower through most of the evening, through at least 10 o'clock. Here comes our line of storms. Little earlier arrival. That's around midnight for Waukesha. It's around 1 a.m. for Milwaukee. And then non-severe stuff lingering into the early morning hours. I might like the graph better. You know, one thing that we haven't talked about also, the threat for some heavy rain with this too. We got to hope that this comes in with some speed and in and out because the ground is still partially thawed. So that could be, you know, definitely, you know, some ponding of water and you know, some flooding scenarios too if we get some torrential downpours. Let's take a look at the HRRR. The HRRR was outputting a lot of rain. So let's look at that. Yeah, that's outputting another ½ inch to an inch on top of what you've already had. So ponding the water, make sure your storm drain is clear. Make sure your sub pump is operating properly. Maybe it hasn't been working since fall. So plugged in even. We want to make sure all those things are good to go. Overall severe threats with this. damaging straight line winds, the primary threat. But especially this stuff this afternoon, I think there's a hail threat. If we get anything to pop up, I'm going to check on that Rockford storm here in a second. And then, yes, even a risk for tornadoes with this as well. So I showed you this earlier. Hey, let's refresh ourselves. What makes a storm severe? 58 mile per hour winds or greater, 1-inch diameter hail, and of course tornadoes. That's what makes a storm severe. Let's go back to the radar. I'll be doing this all day until about 2 in the morning. Yeah, I'll be here then. Let's see how things are going down there in Rockford. This one's in Monroe, doing okay. Still no lightning to them, surprisingly. Yeah, that's going pretty good. That's cooking. That's moving. Let's go to the Ville. Ville still not doing much for that Rockford, so that's a good sign for hail for us for now. Good sign meaning no hail. Okay, so that's that. Let's start getting to any questions, comments, and then we'll go from there. I do want to take this time, too, to let you know that, we're trying to be on as many platforms as we can. So those of you on Facebook, whether it's the TMJ4 page or my page, head over to my page, too, after this. Follow me, Brian Niznansky, on Facebook. I'd appreciate that. But also, I'm streaming on YouTube. This is simulcast on YouTube, so you can find me on YouTube as well. And if you head over to YouTube and you search for Brian Niz, Weather Whiz, that's my YouTube page, I would appreciate a subscribe there as well. So, just trying to hit as many platforms as we can. We have a very big reach on Facebook, trying to expand that a bit on YouTube. All right, let's get to any questions, comments that coming in. I see them coming in. Thank you guys for your questions, comments. And all right, so Brian got pretty hairy in Twin Lakes this morning. Yeah, it was rumbling. Tony says we'll be chasing in Illinois this evening. Okay, Tony, be careful. Please send us. Let me put this graphic up. Please send us any weather reports, safely. The easiest way to do so, I should have this just ready to go. Easiest way to do so is to go to interface at tmj4.com/share. You can upload your photos and videos there if you are chasing, or email us, weatherteam@tmj4.com. Okay. What about Twin Lakes tonight? Yeah, your arrival looks to be you're going to get some stuff moving through this afternoon, but the main event looks to be after 11 o'clock in Twin Lakes. Bonnie says hello in Jefferson. Sarah says hello. What time frame for Fort Atkinson? Maybe a little bit sooner. I would be on your guard by 10:30, 11. But also this afternoon stuff could bubble up too. So we got multiple rounds. We've been talking about the multiple rounds. Sue wants to know high winds. Yes, damaging straight line winds, the primary threat. Let me show you why. That's a great question. So why the main threat for damaging straight line winds? Let's take a look at the jet stream. Jet stream, very pronounced across the Midwest, really ramps up by early tomorrow morning. You see that? So what you have is a ton of wind aloft. Now, maybe not specifically that level of jet stream that's high up in the atmosphere, but let's look at the low-level jet stream. That's where the jet stream actually dips farther into the lower levels of the atmosphere. And notice how that really peaks over us in the Midwest. So what does that mean? Okay, so when we get thunderstorm development, the storms build, it could bring that jet stream wind, let's say it's over 70, 80 miles an hour at least, down to the surface, has the potential to do so. So that's why damaging straight line winds, the primary threat. Great question, Sue. Ross, what's up, bud? Flaps. Worried about the salt off the roads with the motorcycles. There's a good thing with this rain too. Rye wants to know, when is it supposed to get bad? Hopefully you saw my general timing of things. But yeah, scattered storms popping up now, a break through most of the evening, and then I would say around midnight for most of the area. Muskego ? Rebecca says. again, I mentioned this earlier. Maybe Rebecca wasn't here. I know you want to hear exactly for your town, and I'm happy to do so, but be more specific. Like Muskego, are you like timing-wise? Are you wondering about the threats? But in general, I would say around midnight. Kenosha timing, Bonnie wants to know, you're probably more like 1 a.m. in Kenosha. Janesville is going to be sooner than that, farther west. I could see maybe around 11 o'clock for you in Janesville, Thomas. A lot of awesome, great questions coming in. I really appreciate it, everybody. We'll have you covered here. Again, let me show you this graphic. Don't want to like say, oh, this is slam dunk. We're all in for it terribly. But I just want you to be prepared because I know that this is, kind of our first go at it with severe weather. Make sure you have your way of getting warnings. Make sure you know how you're going to get warnings. NOAA weather radio, your mobile device, TMJ4 app, on air, of course, outdoor sirens, last resort for tornadoes. So yeah, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Again, if you're on Facebook, awesome. If you watch this later on, fire off a question in the comments section and I could hopefully write back to you. Also, head over to YouTube, find Brian Niz, N-I-Z, Weather Whiz on, I can't even say that with a straight face, on YouTube, and subscribe there as well. We'll have you covered, guys. Enjoy the warmth. Unfortunately, it comes with some storms. I'm going to keep tracking stuff, and we'll see you later.